Welcome, everybody, to Come Back to Love radio show. We are on Dream Vision 7, and I am your host, Robin Vogel. Welcome to our new listeners. Welcome to those that have been listening every week. This is the radio show where we explore the journeys of healing, connection, and transformation in love and relationship. And again, I'm your host, Robin Vogel. I'm a love and intimacy coach and creator of the program Heal Your Heart. Join me as I share stories, tools, and insights to help you rewrite your love story, whether it's about overcoming heartbreak, unraveling old patterns, or reigniting the spark in your current relationship. Together, we'll explore how love begins within and expands outward to create meaningful, fulfilling connections with others, and especially with yourself. You can tune in to Come Back to Love every Thursday at 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Listen online, in your car, on your mobile device, or simply ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 Radio. In each episode, I welcome incredible guests who bring their unique perspectives and expertise to help us dive into topics like self-compassion, healing, and creating the love we desire and deserve. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by two special guests, Ray and Nina Crist. Ray is a world-renowned visionary who offers his teachings from a deep well of knowledge of indigenous wisdom. He has been an apprentice and an initiate of the Q'ero Nation's elders since 2006, and ever since has shared the ways of living with thousands of spiritual seekers. Ray has traveled the world and has spent the last 3 decades immersed in shamanism, various styles of yoga, Chinese medicine, and martial arts. He has been offering workshops and trainings at Kripalu Yoga Center, where we met, actually, the New York Open Center, Yoga Journal, Blue Spirit, Bodhi Tree, and many other places all around the world. I also want to welcome Nina, Ray's wife and partner. Since age 17, she has lived, breathed, and studied and taught martial arts, learning the essence of each style. I've taken some of those classes. They are amazing. She's a black belt with the title of master and is a keeper of this ancient wisdom. She is honored to share these beautiful practices. She's been teaching for decades and decades these martial arts with the intention of making these ancient practices accessible to all. Welcome to both of you.
Robin, thank you so much
Hello.
for having
You're
us.
welcome. I know that was a lot for our listeners to listen to, but actually just to get the energy of what both of you bring into the world is so powerful. And I have been so lucky to be somebody who, I'm going to say, synchronistically met Ray a long time ago, and then Nina, and also just been able to be the recipient of some one-on-one work that was really powerful a long time ago, and participated in your year-long shamanism training, which was so powerful for me and continues to infuse the work that I do. And I continue to be inspired and really blown away by the things you've been offering in the world and how you've been offering them. So I'm very happy to have you as my guest today, both of you.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for having us on your show today.
Yeah,
You
we've
are
been
welcome.
for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, the theme of this radio show is come back to love, come back to ourselves, our hearts, our beings, and who we truly are, which I feel like is such a big topic because we're so influenced by everything going on in the world. We take everything on, and as humans, we make all these assumptions about who we are in the world. And what we're learning as we grow and get older and mature and wiser is that these things aren't really true about who we are. And I feel like part of the journey that you model and teaches in some very powerful ways that truth. And I wonder if you want to say
Absolutely.
anything about that as a start.
Yeah, connecting with the ancient wisdom practices at a young age, and for Ray and I both, just not only connecting with the practices, connecting with all of what we share with the world, it's about allowing ourselves to be. And I say that and immediately like be in love, to really like just marinate in the sweetness of this life. And the practices are that gateway, that entry point that allow us to access the pure love, the experience of joy, the experience of contentment, of beingness, of presence. And that's really what we share. And I think our personal journeys have kind of, I love how you said it's like the synchronicity of like the weaving together of how you met Ray. And I feel like all of us, as we're on this path of seeking, connecting with yoga, connecting with maybe Tai Chi or whatever it is, nature, like all these different, like, I'm going to say like breadcrumbs on the path of life to lead us towards, or these sparks of light that kind of lead us towards that inner truth. And that's really what's attracted Ray and I, not only
to each other,
but then to share this with the world more and more, because, I think the journey of falling in love with myself is what inspires me to want to share this with the world, what the Jaguar Path offers for our school.
That's huge. And so it's so important. It's tricky. It's tricky because we come at an age, like say we finish school and we're 18, 20, and we're looking out to the world and we're looking outside to find what we want to do. And maybe we're looking to find teachers or others to kind of like be like them. And I say it's tricky because the idea is at the end, you have to look inside to find that love inside yourself. One of the biggest things that I've learned from the shamans that I work with, the Karo people, is that the number one thing to find healing, to evolve, to have a foundation under your feet is self-love. And that's the other tricky one, because outside in the world, so as we look outside in the world, it almost seems like narcissistic or egocentric to say, what do you mean you love yourself? It's like, oh, you're all about yourself. But if I can't have compassion and sweetness and take care of myself and have a sweet voice inside myself, if I can't have it inside me about myself, I can't have it towards anyone else. I can't be sweet to Nina, my wife. I can't be sweet to Jason, my son. I can't be sweet to you, my friend, or to my teachers, or to my students. So the first tricky part is when I'm looking outside, it would be great. And it took me a second. I met my actual teachers after many teachers in trainings and schools. I met my teachers in Peru at the age of 40. And that's when I really understood that I have to turn the camera inward. When I was asking for these shamans to heal me, and they said, well, we can't heal you. We could train you to become a shaman. And that's the healing, when you love yourself and kind of like step into your power at whatever level that is. You don't have to be an all-powerful person. We never really are all-powerful. We keep on growing, but to really just own the love, and own like, okay, I can lead people to A, B, and C, and that's who I am today, and like start that journey through that.
So beautiful. Wow. Let's back up for a moment, because I know that there's some people listening that are saying shamanism. What is that? And it's one of those words similar to tantra, which is a word that I speak sometimes, and there's confusion out there about shamanism. There's people using the word, the language, and I know it comes from a pure place inside both of you, and I would love to hear what you would say about the definition and what it means. What does it mean in this day and age, 2025?
I think, I love the way you just phrase that, Robin, because I think that our language is so loaded. Each word holds so much more than just the simple one-dimensional meaning. And so the word shaman, I feel that has, I want to say, almost overused, in the sense that it's kind of like been watered down or distorted or confused. And I say that because I think that's kind of in a lot of ways, a reflection of where we're at, our society, where we're at. When we look around in our society, it's a little confused. There's a little bit of distortion. Shamanism translates to being a knower, to being a seer, and to really know yourself. And when we know ourselves, we also have an understanding of the cycles of nature, the seasons, the patterns, the way if we don't water the plant, it's not going to thrive. It's not going to provide fruit or flowers for us, right? If we don't water ourselves, we can't expect for our optimal expression of self to be forward in our everyday living. So we start to learn, how do we take care of nature? How do we take care of ourselves? And there's this dance between nature and actualizing, manifesting our life through our words, through our thoughts, through our actions. But any form of shamanism, and I'm using this word as a blanket to cover any indigenous wisdom practices, any universal truth, any science based on universal truth. And so when we come into that word, I feel that each one of us is expressing that uniquely, as we each have our own unique personality, as each flower has its own expression and reaching for the sun in its own angle and its own way. Yet there are patterns that are absolutely evident if you know what you're looking for, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what we teach, is like to start to learn the patterns and what to look for. What does it feel like? What's that experience? And then to have a community to be able to share, because it's going to be different for each one of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I totally agree with both of you. I think it's the word shamanism has been used, abused, confused, and
Yes.
so much more. And I'll just say what it is for me. I went to Peru 20 years ago and started working with the shamans there, and I had my own Western mind opinion before, and I thought there were like these people of the metaphysical powers of out of this world, and I've discovered very, very different things. I want to say that the biggest power that I found that these people have is the power of affection, simplicity, and honesty. If you ask me today what shamanism is, and you essentially said, I would say shamanism is naturalism, is really coming back. You see, what happened to the Western world is we made a wrong left turn somewhere, or right turn. There's a wrong turn somewhere, and we see this in the destruction of our environment and what's happening now. That it's falling apart, and that's what these people were. And the shamans are the Taoists in China that created the martial arts, that created acupuncture, herbalism. Shamans are the yogis that created Ayurvedic medicine, which is both Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine are over 7,000 years old, still working today unchanged without the chemicals that we use in the West. Shamans are also the shamans of Peru, of Mongolia, of Russia. The word itself means the knower, like Nina said. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's about diving into a study to know thyself, coming from Greece now to also shamans with Pythagoras was named as shaman, and Pythagoras created geometry. Asclepius and Hippocrates were named shamans. They created modern medicine as we know it today. Right? Even today, to become a doctor, you have to take the Hippocratic Oath. He is referred to in all the texts as a shaman, meaning a healer and a person of knowledge. And the key word here is that Nina said, and I just want to repeat it so it doesn't go past by. It's like, these were sciences. They are sciences. It's not some kind of folk mumbo jumbo or some new agey thing that happened in the 80s and the 70s in Europe or America. It's something that's ancient and is the foundation of all sciences. So they're that. It's learning about yourself and everything about physiology, all the way to psychology, and even to astrology, and understanding when Socrates said, "Know thyself, and you shall know the secrets of the gods and the whole universe." Mm-hmm. He really meant that, because if you understand how you function as a being, you understand how your psychology works, and even deeper, how your endocrine system works, then you'll be able to understand all your emotions, study where they come from, and you'll be able to guide them, because emotions are wonderful. Emotions are what color life, what make life, right? What's the happy days and the being in love, the moments you're in love, and all these hormones are running through your veins. Every time I hear Nina's voice, there's a whole thing that happens inside me, and that's all chemical, that's all real, that's physical. And when we go into shamanism, we dive into understanding these things, and that's the essence of understanding the secrets of the gods and the whole universe. I begin to understand what I am as a being. And when you come to that, and you don't have to be an endocrinologist or a doctor or an acupuncturist or a black belt like Nina, right? But there's some basic things that you can learn that these people know and share, that then you can work with all your trauma, things that happened in the past, these amazing tools that are psychotherapeutic, that you can unlock knots inside you, release contracts, release contractions that are in your body, and really find a place of liberation and begin to be comfortable in your own skin. Begin to be comfortable in saying, I love myself. I know I'm doing my best and I'm feeling great about that. And then being able to say, I love the world around me.
Yeah.
And begin to be another light.
Yeah.
Wow. I've probably asked you that question many times since this is not our first rodeo of conversation and interviewing. And I have to say, I mean, we're all evolving, and, I know we're all evolving. That definition and share around shamanism was so, I don't know, I felt moved to tears during part of it also, because and to me, when that happens, it's like this deep, I'm hearing or witnessing like this deep truth. I know that that's how my being can respond to hearing truth. And so it just felt so complete and, I don't know, so in depth. So I don't know, just thank you for that.
Thank you
Thank you,
for offering
Robin.
the opportunity and the window to the world. May it shine through the world so people
Yeah. Yeah, what I was really hearing was like these ancient master teachers, I guess the current language would be maybe, and how those ancient teachings have infused so much. I mean, the whole of our being, not just physical healing, but psychological healing and the emotional piece and healing trauma, which, people are talking about so much these days. Yeah, and that it really expands everything. And I love how you said, Nina, like I'm using it as a broad word to identify and acknowledge all of our capacity, really, as humans. But the things that are, wow, that we've learned from so many master teachers. So I would love to dive in just for a few moments before we take a commercial break, just to hear a little more about the emotional piece, because I'm imagining our listeners would like to hear more about that. And you mentioned some tools and just some more information about, like, what does that mean that we can use shamanism and the Jaguar Path School to address emotional trauma?
It's so funny. Ray and I, we're both wanting to come at it from different angles, I think. And there are multiple dimensions of emotional healing, accessing emotions, accessing hidden emotions that we've covered up. I am a really kind person. I don't have anger, right? And it's like, well, we're all human. We're going to experience something that makes us angry. So we share tools that you can offer yourself through practices, and think of that as like a self-tuning. And as the emotional body is ready to release and let go of emotions that have been held in the body, in the physical body, that will happen at a nice gradual pace through the practices that we share, ranging from cultures around the world. And we also share shaman tools where you really, sometimes, you need a little help from a friend. So there's some things we can do for ourselves, and there's some things we need a little help from a friend or a healer. And so we not only do we offer healing to others to support them in their healing journey, but we also certify students in becoming certified in healing, and that's the modern shamanism and the science of healing. And you actually, through our school, we work with Ubiquity University, where you can earn a degree, a PhD and a master's degree, which is really exciting. I think just signifies where we're at also in these times, that this work is being recognized to the doctorate level. But when we dive into how to access the healing, we're really looking at the endocrine system. We're really tapping in to the organs and where are the emotions born, and how can we support the body in releasing and identifying. And through just the simple awareness, we can start to be in a flow. And I want to say, I've heard from more than one person, it's just like, when is enough enough? There's so much about this healing journey and all this healing that needs to be done. And you scratch the surface and there's more healing and more healing. And again, there's seasons for everything. And we also can give ourselves like a little bit of a break and know that we have our whole life. There's no rush. And so to really weave these practices and this healing, the sessions or the training into our life that really works for us, that's not like pushing the river to need to achieve something or get somewhere. Because one of the things the ancient teachings share is that when we're striving, we're no longer able to be. So we want to really allow for the mammal, the spirit, all parts of ourselves to just be here now and enjoy the experience of being, rather than needing to achieve. Or a healing also assumes that there's like in the word healing, it's also at the same time saying there's something wrong with you, or there's there's an immediate kind of, and it shouldn't be that way. I want to say shouldn't, but it's not that. The healing, the wisdom practices are not meant to do that. It's really to support us on our journey. But in the Western mind, with the language, the way that it's set up, it immediately creates this dichotomy, this black and white of, if I need healing, there's something wrong with me. And so it creates barriers. And so that's another thing that we really try to help, Rich, like let down all the barriers and access this awesomeness.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to comment and then we'll take a commercial break and hear your, like you said, Nina, maybe different doorway into the answer. But I want to just first comment before we take that commercial break. First of all, when you said the piece, I mean, my whole body just relaxed when you said, we can just be, I'll use the word allow, which is a word that I use often and feel energetically like, and just allow, rather than being in a mindset of striving, which can be so stressful. And I know for me, it's been a trauma response, honestly, because I lived with at least one parent early on that was ill and passed away young. And then later on, another parent that was ill and passed away. And so when something is happening in my body, it's like my trauma response goes to like, okay, something's wrong, got to fix this. And then I'm striving. And it's really, it's, first of all, it's stressful, and stress is not healing. So end of that sentence, like period, end of that sentence, right? And then and I'm sharing this about myself in case it resonates with anybody else who's listening. There's like a looking in the past, especially now, I've, shifted a lot and grown a lot, but in the past, and even now, sometimes like looking outside for the answer, right? It's like, okay, something's wrong, quote unquote. I've got to find that, and it's outside myself. And I think certainly what I've learned, from being with the two of you it's about looking inside myself and knowing my own, knowing and seeing my being, my energy, and my capacity to come back to equilibrium and balance inside myself. And when you said that piece about relaxing, I felt, yeah, it's a long journey here, whatever the time is.
Right.
So just to be able to relax into that, so powerful. I had a teacher who once said the person who relaxes the most is actually the one who, quote unquote, wins. I was like, oh yeah, I could never understand that when I was in my 30s and 40s. I was like, what does that mean? Anyway, so we'll take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back with Ray's perspective on this topic. Okay, welcome back. We are here, Come Back to Love Radio on Dream Vision 7. I'm Robin Vogel, your host, and I am so happy to be joined by Ray and Nina from the Jaguar Path School. Straight from Greece. We didn't say that yet. Pretty amazing. So we've just been talking about the different aspects of shamanism and how it's really this ancient teaching that has come from various places that includes all aspects of ourselves, our beings, our healing, our physical healing. The endocrine system has been mentioned a couple of times, spiritual healing, emotional growth. I shouldn't even just only say healing, but growth, really evolution. And the word emotion pinged me, as I'm imagining it also did for some of our listeners. And thank you, Nina, for sharing your perspective and the information that you shared about how emotions and healing are tied together. And also that they bring this sort of black and white. Implicit in the word healing was like, there's something wrong, which can create stress. And so we're letting that go. And Ray, I'm imagining you have another piece to offer around that question of how does shamanism link with emotional healing? Like, how do they support each other? Some people don't even think about emotional healing when they think about the word shamanism.
Okay, wow. Okay, well.
In 5 words or less. Only kidding.
I can do it in 5 seconds. Well, it's really all there in that the healings that we need are not something. I'm going to just go back to what you both said. When we say I need healing, that means there's something wrong with me. And the idea is that basically when something happens and something goes wrong in our life, or when we feel that we've had trauma in our life, anything that we have, like trauma in our life, makes us pause, makes us stop, makes us, we feel some pain, some hurt inside us. That makes us stop and really actually take a look inside. The shamans we work with call themselves the wounded healers. And they point out to the fact that, well, if you have a life where everything is always good and everything that ever happened in your life was easy and everything was given to you, and by the time you were 16, you had a Porsche, and by the time you were 18, you had a mansion, and by the time you're and nothing ever went wrong, do you think you would have any depth? And in contrast to, things happen. You were heartbroken. You had to work really hard to get that first $1,000. I remember my first $1,000 car. I like more than the car I drive today, and it's not a $1,000 car. So it's like, there's something to be said that when we go through trauma, we're essentially invited by the universe to look inside and see, what was that response? Why did that happen? Mm-hmm. And it's not about blame. That's a very Western idea. It's like, so I was hurt, so let me look at the person that hurt me, let me hold a grudge towards this person, and let me tell everyone else around me about how bad this person is. And that's just all the wrong perspective, because there's no healing or there's no peace in that. You can't find peace. And that's a really big part. It's a really big part. Like I was saying, it's like, to knowing thyself means to know what we are as mammals, first of all, because in that wrong left turn we took in the Middle Ages, we forgot that we're mammals. We forgot that we really want to wag our tails. We really want to purr. And everyone's like avoiding that, right? I mean, why? I would love to wag my tail. I would love, Nina knows it. If she throws a ball, I'll run after it in the field, and especially on a sunny day, and enjoy the sun and enjoy the grass and enjoy life. And we've gotten all boxed up with this idea. It's like, you got to be really cool, and you got to be this or that. Or you're a real victim and you were hurt by these people and you'll never heal. You got to take these pills, which then going back to the endocrine system, once you start messing up your chemistry, and not to say that Western medicine and pills are not necessary, they are necessary, surgery is necessary. There's a lot of times Western medicine is really important to take place. I want to make that clear. But there are these tools Carl Jung, the great philosopher and great psychotherapist, loved shamanism and brought a lot of shamanic tools in his methods of psychotherapy. And the understanding here, and there's just so much to this, but the understanding here is to really, and for your guests and for everyone that's listening to us now, is to understand, it's like, when I have a feeling, there is some center in my body, at some place in my body, there's a little trigger that is now beginning to affect one gland or an internal organ or another, that is now secreting a chemical in my blood flow. And it's a hormone. It's a hormone that creates anger. So the anger hormone, the frustration hormone. And there's names to these hormones. Again, we don't have to learn the names, but we have to understand that when you're feeling anger, let's take anger, because I think that's a really easy one, because I think a lot of people I can identify with that. First of all, I'm going to say, if you're angry at someone, you're probably right to be feeling angry. It's most likely the case that someone did something they shouldn't have done, said, or done. And you're right to feel it. This is really, really important for us to understand. So, okay, I'm angry now. But the thing is that, do I get to keep this anger? So I had a difficult divorce and I was angry with my ex-wife. That's an example, which again, or a woman, ex-husband, people can identify with. Do I live my life for 10, 20, 30 years carrying that anger towards my ex? Or do I find where that trigger is, where that emotion is secreted in my body, and I take care of that to balance it? And when I balance that, I can come to understand, it's like, oh, well, that did happen 20 years ago. And here I am 20 years later, because there was something that reminded me of it, a word, a color, a smell. Someone said something similar. Now I'm again in that anger, in jail. I'm like being hijacked by an emotion. Now I'm not there. I'm not wagging my tail anymore. Definitely not purring. I'm definitely not in the moment. And now I'm hijacked. I'm not here anymore. It wasn't that you're not right. You're hijacked. It's a good word.
Yeah.
Like, you may be right. You probably are right if you feel angry. But do you want to live with that anger, or do you want to take care of it? And in the Western world, because things are black and white in the Western world, we then think that then we have to find some kind of justice to punish the other person, because if somehow the other person is punished, that anger will stop being inside me. And this whole thing is a mess. It's not true at all. Walk away from the person that upsets you. And you can walk away a few days or a few months, or walk away forever. If someone upsets you, if someone hurts you, you have to make this serious decision and say, hey, listen, after one conversation or two or 10, say, this is not working for me. You have to assume the responsibility to protect yourself and lovingly bow out. And then say, okay, why was I triggered this way? And what can I change inside myself to not have that feeling, that chemical running through my liver and throughout my whole body? You know, forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about saying, I'm not going to carry this any longer with me. I'm not going to allow it to hijack me any longer. I want to have a beautiful day today.
Wow.
So hope that kind of gives an idea. And there are tools that help us go there, help us go and find the chemistry and shift the chemistry. And the text, the Tao Te Ching, coming from the Taoist, I show Nina, she's a more Taoist of the family, I'm the more yogi of the family. But it says, when you're looking for lasting change, nothing equals the vessel. Meaning that to change something emotionally, you have to change it in the body. And there are a lot of practices and a lot of tools that actually you can change and find that forgiveness, or let's say letting go, or cutting cords with someone. I have nothing to do with this person anymore. Yeah. May my ex-wife have an awesome life. May my ex-husband have an awesome life somewhere else. And then I am free. I'm not held anymore by that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you just add another piece? Because as you're speaking about this really important topic, and anger's, yes, what I see a lot in my practice also. There's the, okay, I need to, and it's better for my being and my highest good for all to step away and create that boundary and maybe do a cord cutting. And there are a lot of people angry in relationship that want to also stay, but the anger keeps cycling and circling. And as you said, it doesn't, when we keep blaming outside ourselves and that becomes the focus, it's a no-win. It's what I've witnessed over, 20 years of working with couples. It's like it's a no-win. There isn't any way off that hamster wheel, and you don't get to wag your tail and feel joy and chase after the ball after that. It just stays in this cycle of anger and blame. And so, yeah, can you add your thoughts on that piece?
Yeah, because we're talking about anger, just for
Mhm.
an example,
Right.
we look at the emotions, we look at what the predisposition is. So these, say the two people that are in a relationship that just keep coming back on that pattern of anger. And we start to look at like, okay, so like attracts like. So anger in the liver is excess fire in the body. And so we start to look at, okay, is the idea for the couple to have okay, we're going to have a good night, and they're basically eating fire. Is it drinking alcohol, which is fire? Are we putting hot sauce on our food? Are we having red meat that also that brings in more fire? So it's one of those things, if we don't know, we don't know. And so in our effort and our intention to be our best selves, we want to set ourselves up to succeed. And if we don't realize that by having alcohol or having cigarettes, or I think of like all the fire that we can imagine, at some point it has to be expressed, and it will come out in our words and our actions in a quick, abrupt movement that maybe startles the other, and then that it like is what sparks that pattern. And so when we say, look at yourself, how am I showing up? How can I change? Well, if something doesn't change, nothing's going to change, right? So what changes are being made so that we can come back into this place of balance? For the anger, it's the liver. We need to start doing liver detoxes and movement practices that support the liver channel, and looking at cooling the system using ambianga and coconut oil. And so we can come at it from all these angles, getting the support of maybe a cord cutting so that we can start to change. And not necessarily, when we say a cord cutting, it may be more of a reset where we're really resetting the dynamic. Whether that's with a family member or in an intimate relationship where it's like, okay, I love you so much, but what we're doing is not working. This is what I can do to be responsible. These are the things that I see that I can change. And I need you to take your energy back. I need my energy fully back so that I can have like everything I need to succeed at this, because I love you so much and I want to be better in our relationship. And so it's really, I feel like we take the blinders off when we get access to the wisdom of these ancient practices, because life closes us in and we're just like in survival and just trying to get through the day, and then trying to be nice on top of it sometimes can be a challenge. Yeah. And I say that with humor because I know it's not easy.
Yeah, and humor is number one tool for shamanic work. And when we say that, when you're triggered, when any one of us is triggered, when we say I'm angry, another word for anger, and we use it, is mad. I am mad. And we know what madness is, right? Madness is that what happens is that when you're triggered and you get angry, this is part of the knowledge that we share, and it becomes really quite simple and accessible. But just listen to this part. Our body has electricity, and this electricity isn't always the same everywhere. It's different in the heart, different in the brain, different in the muscles, depending on what we're doing, what is happening. But when a lion attacks me, all my electricity goes to the backside of my body. It goes to the adrenals and to the back brain, the mammalian brain, the reptilian brain. And now I'm this mammal that is going to either fight or flight or freeze to survive, right? So when my partner attacks me, the same mechanism happens. And if I go back to my adrenals and my reptilian brain, I have lost access to my prefrontal cortex. It's like saying, okay, try to send an email with Photoshop. It's like, you simply can't. You simply can't access email with Photoshop. It's like, it's a different thing. It's a different tool. So what happens, and we don't know this, it's like sometimes, and there's just, we dive into relationships with our intimacy workshop, the Shiva Shakti, we were talking about Hindu gods, the god and goddess, the archetype of the masculine and feminine. The thing is that most of the times, not to dive too much into that, I'm just going to say most of the times, when two couples have a fight or there's a trigger or when people get angry, there's just simply a trigger there that's been set up from before and is almost irrelevant to what is happening now. Or a lot of times the scale of it is irrelevant to what's happening now, right? It's almost, we're looking for that excuse to blow up. So to conclude, two thoughts in this to understand, it's like, it's really important for us to understand that it's a personal matter, and it takes a lot of knowing yourself or understanding that moment when you're beginning to be upset to say, am I love or am I not? Am I love or am I not? Yeah. What is my choice this very moment? I did something that was not right. I didn't know it. And I did something that...
You didn't take out the trash.
I didn't take out the trash or something else. I forgot to come to an appointment with Nina. We said we'll meet somewhere. I did something. Or I said something that bothered her. It's like at that moment, there's a moment, and I'm saying that...
You take out the trash.
Just for
the record.
And she's a black belt, so I make sure to be at all my appointments with her. So, and I say this, that if someone does something to me, I'll bring that example. Yeah. I have a moment before I respond. I have a moment. If I don't have a moment, I'm jumping the gun, then there's something wrong with my nervous system. I need to look and see, am I smoking? Am I drinking? Is there too much fire in my body? Are these elements? What's happening? Is there inflammation in my body? Why am I so easily triggered, and now I'm on fire, and I'm so right, and I'm so right that I have to yell, and the neighbors have to hear us, and I have to tell you how wrong you are. It's just like this game of the blame, like you mentioned before, Robin, I don't know what word to use. It's ridiculous. It's immature. It's short-sighted. It's a limitation. Thank you. It's a better word. It's a limitation.
And it doesn't.
We need to look at a responsibility of our own feelings. So I'll conclude and say that there's techniques of understanding how I can bring the electricity. Then instead of my adrenals and my amygdala, the back brain, to bring it in front of the heart, to the heart and the prefrontal cortex. Mm-hmm. And here I'm not talking New Agey ideas. I'm talking about actual anatomy. There's a breath that can bring more electricity to my heart and open my rib cage, and that automatically will soften my whole prefrontal cortex, my forehead, and I'll be able to look at my person that just said something and say, well, you just insulted me, but I can see my beloved sister and beloved brother. It's like, you said this because you're hurt. Like if I stay up front, I'm in the front room, I have clarity and I'm seeing what's happening. I'm not taking it personally. I'm not going to my old triggers from my childhood. I'm not going jumping the gun. I'm like staying up front and I'm saying, oh, okay, this is what's happening. You know, my beloved is hurt and you're trying to lash this out at me. So
and you say so often, and I love this. It's like, can you stay open in love even when life is?
Yeah.
And I think that's, people ask sometimes, like, what is spirituality? And I think it takes strength.
That's the only thing that spirituality is. Can you stay open as love?
Can you be kind?
Or
when life is difficult.
Yes. Or you're going to close down in your dysfunction.
Yeah.
Right.
It's dysfunction. You're closing down and you're being angry. Which
can be very real too.
It's real. It's real.
I said that needs love.
I said that every emotion is valid.
Yes.
Makes you, and it's important that you look at what's happening there. Why is it happening? Right. What part is you? What part is the other? What can be brought on the table? But for any of all this to happen, for it to be brought on the table, there needs to be love. And there needs to be self-check. You can't just shut down and say, well, it was all Nina's fault. It's clear. It's clear. It was all Nina's fault. It's like, period, and then...
Yeah.
Never is the other person's fault.
Well, it doesn't matter if it is, because you're with you all day, every day. So it's like, this is what we have to work on. This is all we can bring our attention to and really make a lasting difference. And I think that's where it comes. That's the shaman, the one that is the seeker, that wants to evolve, that wants to be their best self.
And assume responsibility.
Yes,
You got to assume
that's
responsibility. That's like when you start to assuming responsibility for your emotions and who you are and how you behave and why you're behaving. I think that's where that's where you mentioned age, and that's a huge part. That is the more we grow, the more we realize, because we see how we repeated ourselves in the 20s and the 30s. It's like, wait a minute, it was me. I was doing the same. I was choosing the same person. And I was upset again and again and again. I was saying, it's them. It was my anger.
Right.
So, yeah, choosing love, because basically, and that's what I said, the first thing the shamans taught me is self-love. The first thing that martial arts teaches is self-love.
Absolutely.
And not in an egotistic or egocentric way as I love myself and I forgive myself of any crap I do or anything I do, but more with like, I maintain a soft voice inside and say, okay, why am I hurt? Why are you hurt way today? Let's look at this. What do you need to do? Maybe you begin to need a walk, and take a walk, and then
you deserve
start breathing, and you deserve a walk, and you deserve to breathe. And then when you start breathing, then you start coming to the prefrontal cortex. Now you're accessing a more advanced brain. You're accessing your emails. You've left Photoshop. You can send the email. You can say, hey, I love you. Hey, hello. It's like you can start communicating.
Such beautiful distinctions.
Yeah, because we compartmentalize and we don't know it. And we also choose to just, here's this other part, and I'll pause and at this and say, there's something very interesting that happens in the body. That in our cells, we have these openings, these portals that are cells, like little mouths that are receptors for the cell to receive its food. And we have receptors for vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C, all the vitamins, all the zinc, magnesium, anything that you need. We also create receptors for feeling in love, for feeling angry, for feeling sad, for feeling frustrated, because all these are chemicals that we run in our veins, along with the vitamins and all the minerals that we've gotten. Our emotions are running, our hormones are running in the veins, and they end up at the cells, and they're feeding the cells. So if I fed my cells anger, because I grew up and my parents were yelling all the time, and there was anger, I was in an environment of anger. That anger was in my blood and was feeding cells, and they created so many receptors. Now, the receptors in my cells say, well, you know what, Tuesdays and Thursdays, especially when it's dim outside and it's in the afternoons, that's when they were fighting, right? I like to eat a little bit of that. So Tuesday comes and it's afternoon and it gets dark outside, and you're like beginning to look for, you don't know it, but you're beginning to look for something to upset you. I don't know if you've ever experienced it, or if any of our listeners, like you break a glass fell, an accident happened and you broke a glass. And then you're like, all about it, angry. It's like, damn glass, da 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 da. And then for 2.5 hours, it's all anger.
Throw you off. Yeah.
It's all anger. It's like, and there is a deep behind all that is satisfaction in the anger. You decided the glass will trigger, and it wasn't anyone doing anything to you or anything that's really happening. It was just a simple accident, simple thing that could happen, and has happened to most of us. It happened to me yesterday, or today actually. Thank God I didn't get angry. No, I didn't. It's just like when you have these receptors, you're going to be essentially what I want to say. You are addicted to this emotion.
It's a chemical addiction.
A chemical addiction that you want to live over and over again. And it's like hard. How can you live without anger? I tell you, you're going to live the rest of your life without anger. It's almost like mind-boggling, because in the Western world, we have a lot of it. We had a lot of Hitlers. We had a lot of kings and queens. We had these people that like killed many. We had genocides. We had a lot of that emotion.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
How do I change that?
Yeah.
Just wow. Wow. Thank you so much, because you answered my question times a gazillion. Like, so much good information there. Those distinctions, that awareness of being in the back of the body versus the front of the body. I mean, I talk about that also, but in a different way. And so I just love that because for me, it's all energetic. So if I'm feeling myself in the back, then there's ways, and you said there's tools. And for me, it might be just like bring my awareness to the front of my body, come back to love in my heart, my right thinking, and my prefrontal cortex, and bring love, apply love instead of applying, or reacting from fear. We're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back. Welcome back to this incredibly powerful, so helpful conversation with the two of you, Ray and Nina Crist from the Jaguar Path, straight from Greece, today, live here on Dream Vision 7 Radio. This has been so, so amazing. I just love those distinctions and all that information about anger, how it shows up in the liver, the receptors on the cells, like feed. And like I actually studied nutrition and worked in that field in the early part of my life. So when you started talking about receptors, I was like, yes. And I have to say, I don't think about the emotional receptors, but it makes perfect sense around repeating patterns and kind of eating up these experiences so that we have sort of the satisfaction of expressing in an addictive pattern kind of way. Like for me, it would be more grief than anger, just given my early experiences. And anger is, like you said, so prevalent in our culture. And so I'm going to invite the listeners to replay this again and again, download the episode, honestly, and listen to it a few times because there's so much information in there. And I think taking some time to actually listen again and again, maybe take some notes would be really, really helpful. And how can our listeners and my listeners contact and connect with you? So important.
Yeah, so Ray, after his healing journey, which, we each have had our own personal journeys, after his healing journey, the shamans asked him to teach and asked him to begin a school and to ask them to begin to share what helped him heal and change his life and transform his life, and what we refer to as accelerated healing. They asked him to begin to share and to teach. And so Ray founded the School of the Jaguar Path. Our website is jaguarpath.com, and we offer retreats here in Greece. Ray we started sailing at a very young age, so he knows the Greek islands like the back of his hand. He's fluent in Greek. He's a Greek native, so we're in the best hands, and it's just so much fun. But we do retreats, we do trainings. I mentioned the certification in modern shamanism and the science of healing, and the degree course that people can do if they're interested in furthering their own profession or that professional development through Ubiquity University and the Jaguar Path. But you'll see on our website that we offer Tai Chi and yoga and healing sessions and really all sorts of, Ray had mentioned the Shiva Shakti workshop that we offer. So we offer free workshops throughout the year. We have a shaman circle on Sundays, the first Sunday of the month. And so we offer things to really open our community to people that are interested. And we just love getting a chance to share with your community. I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, I want to say that the heart of the Jaguar Path is a 9-month training that, like Nina said, came out of my healing journey working with the shamans. So the 9-month training starts every November. It goes from November to June, and it's a 9-month basically gestation period where you reset your whole body, your nervous system, your endocrine system, and it is based on 3 trimesters. The first trimester, we learn tools to find things and take things away from the body. We call it, the Incas call it the Inca trilogy, the serpent, jaguar, and condor. So the serpent is about shedding our skin, letting go of things, and that's about the cells we were talking about. Yeah. How can I change things on a physical level that the triggers are not there anymore? And the second trimester, we go into jaguar, which is mind. It's like, how can I start thinking with clarity? Not reacting, not through my trauma response, not through what Facebook and Instagram wants, but how can I be a person with discernment and clarity so I can lead my life in a better way and in all possible ways. And the third trimester is condor, where you've arrived at a place where you're now beginning to see things from above. They say the condor, first of all, you begin to come to a place where you live with reverence. The shamans say you fly wing to wing with a great spirit. And again, shamanism is not a religion. So it's about really discovering reverence. No matter what your religion is, we have people from around the whole planet. We have Hindu people, Muslim people, Christian people, like we have, no, non-religious people. It's not about that. It's about discovering reverence, healing. And so through this process, you heal the body, you begin to sharpen your mind, and you really allow your soul to shine and begin to live in a very different way. And above the collective, above your previous self, you're evolving and you're liberated. You find what are the practices, that they say the condors, they never flap their wings. They just open the wings. So they're riding on thermals. There's no efforting. In the beginning, we were talking about efforting. There's no efforting. When you find the practices, it may be the Tai Chi that Nina teaches, the yoga that I teach, the going sailing, whatever it is, meditation. When you find the practices that are the thermals that lift your soul, and it could be walking for you, it could be swimming, it could be singing, whatever it is. But there's a lot of practices and things that we share and teach that can really lift your soul and allow you that liberation so you can fly above it and look back and say, you know what, all those heartbreaks and all those fears and all that trauma, thank you. It gave me depth. It gave me more humanity. It's made me who I am today, and I'm grateful. As much pain, and I've gone through pain. I know you have.
Oh my gosh.
I've had, and people have difficult lives, but that doesn't mean I have to live as a victim. How can I soar as a condor, as an eagle?
Yeah.
Wow. Whew, that is the perfect place to pause this ongoing, ever evolving conversation. Beautiful. Really. So I feel so moved and so touched by everything we touched on today. And I know our listeners have as well, and will continue, because this is also a show that is forever, because it's archived on the website as well. So people will be able to listen and listen again. So thank you to both of you. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to Dream Vision 7 and the creation that's been here for almost 18 years, actually, offering so many gifts to humanity, with the upliftment, the healing, and what was the word you used at the end there? The practices that raise our soul vibration.
Yes, so,
The firmness to rise above.
Yeah, rise above. So beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
Thank you. Thank you. We're grateful to you.
Thank you. And we did want to offer a gift to all the listeners and to your community. And so just to get a flavor of Ray's voice and a shamanic journey, we would love to offer that as a gift.
Wonderful. Yeah. There's a shamanic journey to learn to find out what your power animal is and who your spirit guide is. And it's a beautiful journey to take. So yeah, we'll add the link to that.
Yes. For our listeners that are looking at either YouTube or Dream Vision 7, or actually anywhere, you can see that link just below this recording. So encourage you to dive into that. I've done that a few times, and it's been really powerful for me. So thank you. All right, listeners, thank you for being here. See you next week, Thursday, 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. live on Dream Vision 7. Have a beautiful day.